Hey guys, it's Rachel. I know it is a Saturday again, and I do apologise for that. It's just been really difficult to be able to get a video up in the week because things have been like really crazy. I'm just at home for a bit and it's kind of really nice, especially this little man. Can I just spin? Oh, we just disturbed him. He literally, it's okay, he's freaked out now. He won't leave my side, quite literally will not leave my side. And he slept with his mummy, didn't you? And kept me warm last night. He's like a little hot water bottle. He's really freaked out now. I'm gonna have to let him out. Okay. Yeah. The strangest things freak him out. Anyway, yeah, things have just been really busy. Last week, it's still this week. Brianna came up with the topic, as far as I'm aware, and she has been doing this rota. And what she came up with was actually something that I do kind of get asked an awful lot. And I get asked through the group and just through general talking to people, really, to be quite honest with you. And it surrounds this idea of recovery in your eating disorder and how that whilst you're in your eating disorder, you're so entrenched in it that the world outside, it does exist, but it's not penetrable. So the way I used to see it was that there was a box. Well, it wasn't really a box, it was a cube, and I was kind of in the middle of it, and it was one of the first pieces of drawings I did in art therapy, and I was in the middle of this box and it was clear, and it was almost as though I was banging on it and nobody could hear me, and it was so frustrating because all that was within it was me and my fears and my madness and my concerns and my worries and this negativity and this just absolute consumption of illness. And as crazy as it sounds, I used to feel like that cube used to bounce along outside, that it was like I was following the people, some of the people in my life, or I was following the people or the life that I wanted to be living, and nobody could see me. I literally felt like a ghost, and the ghost was most obvious when I would see myself in the mirror, because I didn't know who I was, and so looking in the mirror was not like looking at me. It was almost as though I didn't even know my own name, that somebody could have called me and I wouldn't move because I wasn't Rachel anymore. I was this walking shell of a person who had no soul, no being, no essence. And by drawing that out in a cube, I was able to watch the life I wanted to be living if I could get outside of my own head. And what actually happened around the time I got ill, I was at my worst when I was 21, which I was ill at sort of 18, but that was kind of around the time people started to graduate and move on and perhaps move back home until they found work, then move out and progress in their life, whether they were with a partner. A lot of my friends settled down, maybe had families, and it was so impossibly hard with me because I was stuck in this cube. I couldn't get out of it. It was just me and nothing. There was absolutely nothing else there. And seeing what everybody else was doing, watching them progress with life, all it did was made me more sick. It didn't help. It didn't act as a motivator to get better. It actually made things worse, which I respect. There's some sort of irony in that, but it just made me feel so crap about myself. And especially when I remember being in hospital in like 2003, and I'm sat in this room full of people who were also ill, and the things that we were discussing, I was just like, there is nothing that could make me feel worse than being sat in this room with a bunch of people who I barely know, who are also really poorly, with people, I'm not being funny, but at that time attacking me for not showing up at the right time for dinner, for going to the shops as a way of getting out of the hospital to just have some space for myself, that everything I was doing was wrong, when in all reality all I wanted to do was live my life, and that was my attempt at trying to live my life. And all of these things were going on inside of me. And even when I tried to recover for real in 2004, I used to go out with friends, and I used to be with them, and it wasn't a hallucination, I suppose in some ways it was, and I'd kind of look over to the corner, and I'd see myself just sat there. I'd be just sat there in my pyjamas, not that I can really talk right now, but I would be sat there in my pyjamas, crying, watching this world go by. And although I was there in a body physical form, the real Rachel was sat over there, watching what she could be doing, watching the life she could be having. And it didn't feel complete. I didn't feel that when someone put their arms around me, I could feel it. I didn't feel human. I didn't feel like a person. And I also have a recollection of being sat in rooms and being completely mute. And I used to always use the analogy of when you've got a baby and they're maybe sat in their high chair and they're swinging their legs, and this kind of whole world's going on around them and all these conversations, and they don't have the ability to speak at that point. The only way they know to articulate what's going on is to cry or to sort of maybe bang. And I felt like that child. I felt like the only way I could be heard was literally through my behaviours. And I'm not saying that I used to self-harm and go up to someone and go, look, this is what I've done to hurt myself. My only outlet for finding a voice was my eating disorder and my self-harm. And so it actually worsened some of those things. And it was only when I really had a goal for myself, which was my weight gain. So I would want to include this food and build up to this weight, this weight, this weight. And to also, with the self-harm, getting myself into a sleep pattern, all of what comes with a recovery that would be encouraged, I guess, in hospital, I did at home. And the less I used behaviours, the more I started to feel. And that was so difficult, because again, people were miles ahead of me. You've got to remember that I didn't go back to university till 2004, and I didn't graduate until 2008. Okay, by that point I was, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, maybe 27. Would that be right? It was 5 years ago. Oh God, yeah, I am that old. Okay, I was 27 when I graduated. Everybody had already done that. People had jobs and houses and children and all of those things. And I used to just beat myself up for it so much. And I do now. I do. I'm like 32 this year, and I just feel like I should have so many more things than I do. But at the end of the day, this is where it's at. And I could sit here and feel sorry for myself. And I can sit here and let it hold me back, or I can be like, this is what my life is. At the end of the day, I've saved my own life, I've recovered, I'm healthy, I know my limits. And you know, physically recently I've really struggled. I mean, I didn't realise how weak my body was until this past couple of weeks. And it's been very hard to say, you know, look, I need to slow down and I need to be able to rest. And I went to bed last night at 8:30, and I didn't wake up till 2 o'clock this afternoon. And that isn't because I'm depressed. That isn't because I don't want to get out of bed. That's because my body just crashed, absolutely crashed. And considering the amount of problems I was having with sleep beforehand, that exhaustion had caused that. But you can't go from nothing to everything. And in terms of wanting all the things that maybe the people around you want, or the expectations that are put on you, I certainly had expectations put on me when I got to a healthy weight because I looked healthy. So it was like, well, you know, right, come on, back to work, back to this, back to this, back to that. I'm healthy now, I'm a healthy weight, I'm healthy in my head, I'm doing really well. But I also have to be able to say enough. And I always get so frustrated that I cannot do the amount that some other people can do. It pisses me off royally. It does. It just drives me insane. But at the end of the day, what can I do? I fight that and I end up in a worse position, or I accept it and end up in a better position. And that is what you have to do when it comes to coming through recovery and being a person again, not just being this person hiding away who won't try anything. You have to take risks, you have to try things, and it doesn't mean, and I have to listen to this myself, it doesn't mean you've failed, it means that you've tried. And that takes more courage than just rejecting anything. It means that you've tried, and if you recognise that that's your limit, that's what you've recognised. And so recovery for me, later on, once you've sort of tried to deal with the behaviours, as frightening it is, and trust me, I know how scary it is to take risks. I know how petrifying it is. You have to take them. You just have to take them. And if it fucks up, it fucks up. And that is all you can do, because if you stay, whether you maintain a healthy weight or not, whether you self-harm or not, whether you use behaviours or not, your life is only going to move forward if you allow it to move forward. And I mean, I never really had the desires to go back to sickness. I don't, because when I relapsed last year with my depression, it just devastated me because it took so much from me. And that's why it's so important now for me to recognise my limits, which maybe means I don't do as much, but at the end of the day, I'd rather do that than just push myself to the point of just absolute meltdown. And I have really struggled this past couple of weeks, and it's been maintaining my weight, it's been, you know, the energy side of things, it's been, you know, not being able to eat properly all the time, it's being constantly busy. And ironically enough, it didn't make me manic, it just exhausted me, and it exhausted me to the point that I'd be sat on the tube crying. And so, you know, you have to be able to say, look, I need to be able to, like, go home and sleep. I need to be able to do that. I need to be able to say no. And in the field that I was working, saying no came with huge consequences, and that makes me incredibly sad. But what do I do? And that's the way that you've got to see it. You've got to see it that you can't do everything and you can't be everything, and all you can do is try. And that's the most important thing. That it's not completing whatever you're doing, it's trying. And if you've tried, that's all that matters. That is the most important thing. So if this week, okay, I want you to think in your head of something you can try. Okay, I want you to think of something you could try to do that does push you, which does have fears within it, and try. And I want you then, if it doesn't work out, to reflect on that and see what you can learn from it. But not hurt yourself, not use behaviours, but actually to just try something. It doesn't matter, I don't care what it is, it could be absolutely anything, and see how it goes. And if it messes up, well, hello, I've messed up about 1,000 million times, so you're not going to be alone in that. So that's what I want you to do, okay? I love you guys, and I want to just give you kisses, and I will see you again next week. It might be a Saturday, I'm not sure. Okay, love you, bye.